Hello, this is Gerald Overmars. Visualizing words from letters alone, so from the letter positions, would be a very nice thing if we could really do that, because letters themselves are about positions, are about directions, and so on. If you combine them well, you can also find out how these are really directing the features that I'm describing. They are also in the vibrations and so on. So we hear them. We have, for instance, certain points that we can figure out at each moment, which are the same thing as the things that are quite physically associated. While some things is like some vocals, for instance, like the O, it breaks open the vibration, so you hear that from a start to a finish. You have to go for a whole range with a start and finish, so with the timing involved, and that's also something that you hear. And that's the way how letters will also be associated easily in a certain way, because it demands a different way of thinking. If you have that at each moment, you can notice that, like with that's just one moment. You don't have that. It is really going from one point to a next, and it has an effect. And that's the way how we can realize letters as well, and the letter combinations, and that they are relevant. Now, what are the kinds of words that we can have? It's not always about a form, but let's check out what the word form and then former has so much as a difference, because the first word is about a form, and the second word is more about timing, not about form at all. So how can we realize that, and how is that possible? First of all, these three categories, which you always have, the 1, 2, 3 rule in different ways, is something that you have to learn to understand and to grasp, because that's all what you need to find out the orientation actually a word in the 1, 2, 3 rule, that you have it quite quickly what is the essence of every letter also. The category of number 1, which is in one focus, is always then about physical objective starting points, really points, like I already described it, like with the letter A, you have that in one moment, with the letter T, you have that in one moment. So you don't need the timing in it. O, for instance, that is differences, and it has its effect from start to finish. So that's something that is related with the direction of change. You hear what is changing. You hear what is changing from before and after. And that kind of effect can be noticed orally as well, and we can associate it visually. And the last category is about finding the temporal application, so that you know, okay, but where is the connection? Where is the connection going? And in which, with a whole order of letters and so on. It tries to find a connection at the right point, which you have, for instance, in the letter R, and from the last category, it finds its connection from what is already within the word. So from start to finish, it says something like, let's connect it all. So that's what is a different way of thinking, and that's what we do in words as well. How do we connect the whole set of letters in a certain way that we can have the full word into just one moment, but that we know what that moment is about, and when do we have that moment, and where do we have that moment. When 20 years ago we would come up with a theory, as crazy as it could be, it would be quite acceptable as long as it is quite simple to grasp. I made a couple of books that developed a certain theory, which isn't easy to grasp, but it's not a theory as a logic. A logic on its own, when it's simple and you can follow, you can believe it quite easily. If it's quite difficult, okay, then what is the cause of it is one of the reasons that you can find out. Actually, not to accept it, not to find it quite attractive. But I will say, and I know it is needed, that my theory of the 1, 2, 3 options of how we interpret actually what we hear and we visualize that is actually also based upon something that you can prove. And that's what I have to do at some certain point, because what we hear is also quite... I didn't think about it beforehand, but actually it's quite easy to recognize it, how we interpret it and why we interpret these sounds, because they are also behaving themselves into the frequencies in a certain way, and we hear that. And that's why we have a certain interpretation from there. And I will give you an example. There are 3 regions also in the frequencies. I go to the most difficult region of interpretation in my theory, and the top category, which starts from 3 megahertz frequency, is also actually the 3rd level, and it's all the resonances and frequencies that are heard, but you don't really know where they're going to and what they are resonating to. It is about resonance, and it gets your attention to find a resonance, and that's a way to also that it demands from you a certain awareness of the full context. So you have a word, when you have these letters in it, they actually tells you to put more attention into the resonance, into the feedback system actually. And the feedback system is within a full word. And the E, for instance, is very high, the S is very high, the V is high, the G is high. That's, for instance, already in the frequencies. These are the resonances that tells you that something bigger is beyond it, and you can't really predict from there how much. With E, you simply have the idea, no, there is something bigger in it, just put it in. With you gradually will, or G, you will gradually also deal with it. With H, you will bridge it. With R, you will make a connection in between these zones. You make that, and you make a connection from within the whole word, that there should be made a connection, so that you can find the time and spatial context. It is like there's many things going on, and something will be dominant, so that it will bring your attention to the main focus, so that you can find your sharpened focus in the time context and spatial context. That's the most difficult way to associate it, but that's the way how that works. So I told you already, bridging the gap with H, and R is making connections. So also when you have a word like form or former, Y is the one word which ends with M, ends with something that has a physical reference, and former is actually about, it ends with a letter that also tells you, no, find the connection in time and space which you need. And that's what I will explain in this video. But first, all the letters. The second category is actually all the middle frequencies that dominate, which are around, this 2000 hertz or 2 megahertz, which is again the frequency for this development of where the sounds can only be distincted very well. They're very packed together. They can only distinct very well, like how they behave towards each other. With an O, for instance, it breaks itself open. You hear the beginning. Oh yeah, it's something seems to be breaking open, and it closes again. You need a time aspect for it, and that's what it is. That's your attention. You need time. You are aware of time. You are aware of changes during time, and all these letters that are around it You hear them with O, for instance, with O, with E, the timing itself, and that's there in the middle. Z and W, which hears you that something will develop up or down, actually, in that case. G, F, and P, for instance, they have they also have the higher frequencies as well, so they have some resonance as well. So you deal with the resonance, but the main goal or the main aspect is still, okay, I have some time to find my balance. And with D, N, and Y, which is the lower level, it says like, okay, I deal with time very much, but I will be able to focus on one moment where I can have my focus foundation. And that's why you have D, N, and Y. I'm not going to go too much into detail. And the most easy thing, and the most easy focus, is around 1 megahertz. So these are the basic frequencies which you hear with an awareness which comes very quickly. You have it immediately. It's like the clicks. You have the very small time. You have it, and you can almost pinpoint it at a certain point. Yeah, here I have it, without dealing with changes and so on. I have it. I hear it. It's not changing anything. It can continue, and you have immediately the essence in just one point, even if it continues. With T and K as well, it's a breaking point, and there's a small difference with T. It brings you the breaking point up, or which will make a change already in the breaking point, which is still unclear, but the starting point is from one point. That's basically what it is. You hear a lot of frequencies, and as soon as you can still derive them to one point, yes, you can have one of these first 9 letters. You're aware that now I can grasp it into just one point, into one moment. With U, L, and B, for instance, A, T, and K were easy. With U, L, and P, it also says, okay, there is a time involved. With U, L, and B, they have all a time involved, but I can still start from one point. There is a time involved where things will change. With U, but I can start already. With L, there will be some highlights that will come out, but I can start already. With B, there will be some changes, but I can start already. That's why it's still from one point, and the last 3 letters, for instance, from the first category, also C, M, and U. Also there, you have the highest frequencies, the interactive feedback system of resonances are already focused upon, because we are already seeing them, but we can still use it as a starting point. With C, we have a lot of resonances that we deal with, so we deal with all the things that can happen and that can derive to different directions or can derive to different connections. With the C, I have this attention that I can still use a starting point as long as I have an attention to that. With M as well, there's a lot of things that will vibrate, will resonate to a lot of things that you also almost cannot see, but they will not be important to define that much. It's still starting from one point, and they will increase, and they will have a vibration, they will have feedback, like with the mama. There will be a lot of feedback, there will be that feedback interaction system and so on, but you can start from it with your focus from one point, and you can count on it. That's just an example to have a theoretical background for this, and this is also a basis for understanding form and form better. Let's go from letter to letter. The letter form, the letter F from form, that's the first letter. You can read that here. There's another way to have the 1, 2, 3 rule, which is 1 time, 2 times, 3 times. So when you have arrows with horizontal, vertical, diagonal, another triple idea, you have the vertical in a triple way. So it means it deals with a triple focus. But we choose actually one focus from it, that we can try to have a balanced out moment, the middle moment. I choose the dominant direction of all the changes. So it is also deviated. There's of course it's not just 3 times vertical, it's 3 focuses, and there you choose that the vertical element, and that's the letter F. You choose actually the moment. It's like the prediction with cards, for instance. That is also, you choose out the moment that is about should describe now, and depending on how you pick out that moment, it's described differently, but actually it's all about the same elements, and only the descriptions vary a little bit. After F we have O, so that is that moment which I described. So it opens up, you find the direction of change. So you have here from F, which is the direction, I try to find the direction, and with O I will make a direction of change, and I will start to see what we will have as a direction from what is really changing. The R is that connection point. So far we don't really see very well what the word means. For is the first word that really means something, that we know that has a meaning. So let's find out what we have then as an end result with an R. R is that connection point in 2 times. So if I connect what is happening here until as a result from O, so F first, and that takes out, and then O, so this dispersion that can go anywhere. I choose that one moment, and I think, yes, this is the moment, and I follow the moment, and then I make the connection that I can take something from that moment as a choice, and that's the word for. M is the first physical letter. The rest was just like I take out something that will as a choice, and then I follow it, and what will be the result? The result will be something physical. This is the physical reality that also in a way takes out something. If you have it in directions, something out vertically, in a way it is, you take out the highlighting point in what is forming itself. But it is about forming, so best thing is that we also present it not as directions as you had before, not as connections as you had before, but as points, also the points where there will, from these points onwards, we will have a physical formation process. Here the sound in form will be even more clear, because that's the moment where you have the M here, and that's where the form comes out. You come to a form, and then it will create a totality of a form which will be taken out. Now what's then the difference with former? Because former has nothing to do with form. It's not emphasized in form. The next letter is E, which means let's find out where the timing is. The timing, or the existing timing process, we already described it. You have a before, a preparation. I have a moment that I take out, and actually something can come out, which is which could have been the form as well. But so that's the timing. So it is in these 3 parts where you have an existing process that was described in form, where you had a highlighting peak moment to create actually the form itself. But the last letter, the R, is the connection point, which should connect from the last point, which is E, the highlight, to the end point, which is like in the future. And it connects to the beginning part, so in 2 parts. So from where I ended, to the end, and where I also have from start to finish all the connections. I can connect all the points, and when I connect all the points, I have somewhat actually the feeling what I have there is. So R is always in two stages. Stage one, I bring this point to the end point or to the future. And what do I bring to the end point? The whole structure, the whole formula, the whole rhythm. What is the thing that comes from the past, the connection point? So that's the former. I connect something from the past towards the future. And that could be, of course, a form, but it is also about what used to be something even before it was formed. That's more or less the way that you can understand the letter combination. It was a difficult word, but I wanted to add it as well. Thanks again for watching. Bye.